Parents, when did your child's partner completely win you over? When my son told us he was bringing his girlfriend home for Thanksgiving, I wasn't thrilled. Her name was Madison. She was confident, covered in tattoos, drove an old motorcycle, and worked as a mechanic. That wasn't the future I had imagined for my son, who had just started law school. I assumed they were total opposites and that the relationship wouldn't last. She was respectful, but I kept my distance. I answered her questions with short replies and spent most of the weekend pretending to watch football instead of getting to know her. On the last evening, my wife had to take our son to pick up a forgotten prescription, leaving Madison and me alone in the house. Neither of us said much. Then she noticed an old wooden toolbox in the garage. "Is that yours?" she asked. I nodded. "My grandfather taught me woodworking," I said. "Haven't opened that box in years." She smiled and quietly asked, "Mind if I take a look?" Inside were my father's old chisels, rusted but carefully organized. Instead of making small talk, Madison picked one up and explained how to remove rust without damaging the steel. She talked about restoring antique tools with her grandfather every summer. For the next 2 hours, we cleaned every single tool together. She never once looked at her phone. She listened while I told stories about my dad, who had passed away nearly 10 years earlier. She asked questions nobody had ever asked before. When we finished, she handed me the last polished chisel and said, "Your dad must have been proud to leave these with someone who cared enough to keep them." I couldn't say anything. A few minutes later, my wife and son walked into the garage expecting awkward silence. Instead, they found Madison and me covered in grease, laughing because I had accidentally glued my fingers together while trying to repair an old wooden handle. My son just stood there in complete shock. From that day on, everything changed. I realized I had judged her by her appearance instead of her character. Today, she's my daughter-in-law. Every Father's Day, she still brings over an old tool for us to restore together. The toolbox I hadn't opened in years became our tradition. She didn't win me over with fancy words or grand gestures. She won me over by treating my father's memories like they mattered just as much as her own.